We are part of our agency growth series where we're interviewing highly successful digital marketing agencies from across the country on how they've grown and scaled their digital marketing agencies. Today, I'm super excited to be joined live in studio by Jay Berkowitz from 10 Golden Rules, specializes in working with law firms, runs an amazing multiple seven-figure agency, and is a real true thought leader in this digital marketing space for quite some time. So, Jay, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, for the sake of the watchers, like kind of give us the lay of the land. How many clients? How much recurring revenue? Like, what's the current status in the business?
I guess we've got about 50 clients. We were congratulated this year to become Titans, so double seven-figure agency, and that was about 6 months ago. We've kept growing nice and steady. Like I'm the turtle. My wife calls me the turtle.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Always Mr. Steady.
Excellent. So multiple seven figures, working with law firms. Tell us a little bit about the service offering. Like, what is it that you do for these law firms that you work with?
Well, I like to say we do all four parts of Google because about 70% of our business is personal injury. And you don't go to Facebook to look for a personal injury lawyer. So it's all about Google. And I've sort of coined that there's four parts of Google now in that business because there's the Google screen, the Google Maps, the pay-per-click, and the SEO. And there's really four different specialists in our firm, or four different specialties that we've had to master. And we do social media and videos and newsletters and other stuff, but really the heart of it is Google.
Excellent. So lots of organic search focused. Idea kind of like price point, like what the monthly fee looks like for a typical client?
We average around $5,000 a month.
Okay.
So it's an expensive niche to
on the higher end.
If you want to compete in personal injury, you need a good agency.
Excellent. So multiple seven figures, working with lawyers, higher end service offering. Tell us a little bit about the backstory, because to multiple seven figures is an exciting journey. Tell us how you got into digital marketing and kind of how you got to where you are at today.
Yeah, sure. Well, 10 Golden Rules. Even going further back, I worked for big brands, Coca-Cola, McDonald's. I was a director of marketing, and I saw the internet coming one day when I was at Coca-Cola, and we were getting our first website up, and we were only allowed to put the Coke jingle. And Pepsi had interactive games and fun stuff for kids, and it was really cool. And Coke would only let us run the jingle, and so I knew the internet was going to be a game changer. So I wanted to get all into internet. Took a job with Sprint, getting people their first emails and getting companies their first websites. And then I joined ediets.com, and it was an online.com in 2002. Google was still in beta. Mark Zuckerberg was still in high school. And we were spending $40 million on MSN, Yahoo, and AOL running ads to bring people to eDiets. So I was very lucky at 2002 to run that many ads and see how people actually react. What do they click on? What do they do when they come to the website? We were always running an A/B test. So we were learning, like, what do people like? What do they respond to? What kind of offers? Signing them up for our newsletter. And so I was asked to speak at the Direct Marketing Association, and I wrote the 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing because it was kind of a personal brand exercise to sort of carve out my expertise and position myself as a digital expert in these very early days, and it worked. I didn't know where it was going to go, but when I spoke on stage, and you always say stage time is money time.
Yeah.
A bunch of people came rushing up at the end and asked me if I would consult for them and help them get them on the internet and explain to them this new Google thing. And so, I did that for many years. Everywhere I could, I presented the 10 Golden Rules, and people would come up and ask me to consult, and that was my sales strategy for many, many years.
Amazing. And that presentation on 10 Golden Rules, I remember at one point, right in the early days of Click Incorporated, which is now Plumbing and HVAC SEO, I was in Fort Lauderdale at a presentation where you were the big presenter, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I do remember that.
Yeah. I used to say, have PowerPoint, will travel. There was an old Western, like have gun, will travel, Will Paladin or something. So I just would, go everywhere I could. I would present at all the American Marketing Association, Digital Marketing Association, and that's how I built the business in the early days.
Amazing. So you worked for some of these big Fortune 500 companies. Then you had a startup where you had a massive success within digital marketing, and you kind of positioned yourself. How did you make the pivot into a focus on legal?
Well, I had a niche agency, and we didn't really call them niche agencies back then, but I was in digital when digital was very unique at that time. And, people would say, well, you don't do TV. Well, we could, but we wanted to be, I saw that as the future, and I want to be there. And then over the years, we're a 20-year-old agency now. So after 10 or 15 years, we had a lot of competition. And then it also broadened out so much. Like, people would ask me to do an Amazon store, or do affiliate marketing, or do, certain kind of social media. And it became harder and harder to be an expert at everything. And I like to tell the story that I had a God wink. It's an expression I heard that I really like. And I met this guy, and he had a niche agency, and he only dealt with franchises. And he had like a $2 million recurring revenue business. I'm like, wow, how could you do that with one niche? Like, I'm targeting 200 SIC codes. You're only in one. Then there's the first, we're based here in South Florida, as Josh is, and our biggest .com success or technical success was a company called eBuilder. And they sold this company for $500 million. And I met the partners, the Antevi brothers, and they told the story that, they were slugging away with this SaaS model. And the one brother was trying to convince the other brother, we got to focus. And they focused only in on healthcare, only software for people building hospitals. And the thing blew up. And he said, like, there's only 300 companies in the world we need to target. And they built a $500 million exit. And then the third God wink was when I went to the 7-Figure Agency Conference. And I was meeting people who were like concrete coding experts who became concrete coding marketing experts and 7-Figure agencies. And a good friend, Billy Sticker, who worked at a chiropractor's office in marketing and started Chiro Candy marketing only to chiropractors, and it has like, I think, a 3 times 7-figure agency. It's, $3 million agency. So I realized, okay, I've got to focus now. And we had about 40% of our business was seminar and events. We were doing like the big Tony Robbins events. And about 40% of our business was lawyers. And the lawyers definitely fit the 7-figure agency model, because the events would come and go, and they might pay their bills, and it was performance-based. We were always chasing these guys down. But the lawyers were very good, steady clients. They could sign a monthly retainer. They really needed your services, and they paid their bills, which was quite nice. So we picked the lawyer niche, I guess about 3-4 years ago.
Amazing. So a couple of things he said there that hopefully stand out to you. Stage time is money time, right? Getting opportunities to speak, and there's riches in the niches. Like you're a world-class marketer, and I'm sure it's hard to say, man, I can work with all of these companies and take that skill and say, hey, what's a niche? And it seems like you found that focusing on the niche has accelerated your growth and profitability as an organization.
Yeah, the great thing about the niche is like, now I know what I do. and for a while there, it was becoming challenging because I was trying to be the expert at everything. And I was speaking at the Affiliate Summit Conference. And the next week I was at the, Independent Jewelers Association in Dallas, Texas. And it was like, I was trying to figure out all these business models and all these things. And I was stretched thin. My team, you bring back a new deal to my team, like, hey, today we're promoting an island where you can swim with dolphins in the natural environment. And they're like, okay, great. We got to figure out a whole other business. So, being in one niche, we're really focused on Google. It's made my life easier, made my team's life easier. And the other thing, we got really good at it. I didn't really appreciate how effective it is when you focus. You get really good at something. It's obvious, but.
No doubt. So it makes it easier to get clients. It also makes it easier to deliver the actual results for those clients. Let's talk about how you do get clients. Like, what are some of the strategies that are working best for you today to get attorney clients at these higher level tickets?
Well, I think referrals, we all want referrals, and referrals are great. And referrals are, clients are fantastic. When somebody calls a client up and says, oh, you guys are so busy. What's your secret? And they say 10 golden rules, and they call up. We all love to get those phone calls. But I've nurtured a lot of relationships. And like I said, we've been focused on this lawyer niche and going to all the conferences, but really building relationship with people. One of the so many things that I've picked up from 7-figure agencies, from Josh and from our other superstar members. Jim Aline said that whenever he does his podcast and his webinar, he gets the industry influencers and sets up a meeting with them at the conferences. And so I've been doing that and building relationships with, the real rock stars in the lawyer industry, the other folks who are selling to the lawyers, the software companies, and all the consultants and accountants and everyone who specializes in the law. And so we're really starting to get referrals from those folks. So I'd say 30% of our business is referrals. 30% probably comes from our marketing and our webinars. Again, thank you to Seven Figure Agency for showing us the model. And we do a webinar every single month. We've done it for 4 years since I really came to your first conference. And it has nothing to do with webinars. I always like to tell people it's a tactic that shows thought leadership. And every month it's like, hey, learn PPC for law firms, learn SEO for law firms. One thing Josh is very giving. He says, use my presentation. So I used your presentation yesterday. I did a new presentation where I took Josh's plumbing presentation and crafted it for lawyers called Triple Your Success with the right digital marketing plan.
Love it.
And I got a lead this morning on my website, and the guy was on the webinar, and he's ready to go. So those are fantastic. But also the extension of the webinar on our YouTube channel, we have all our webinars. It's been viewed 250,000 times. So a couple times a month, someone's like, hey, I was on your webinar. I know you guys know how to do local service ads, and we want to go with you. And so it's like they're coming in pre-sold. It's awesome. And then we have another 20 or 30% of our business comes from outreach marketing. We've got some appointment setters and doing some calling, a lot of emailing, and building the business.
So it sounds like a lot of authority positioning. So for those of you listening, thinking, how do I apply this to my niche or to, if you happen to be in legal, right? Just cold calling is probably the hardest way to land attorneys, right? I mean, if you're going after any niche, cold calling, cold emails, you can get there, but it's hard. If you can elevate your positioning by being at the conferences, having a booth, speaking, like being a thought leader, putting out content and podcasting, that is what's going to position you as the expert to get clients to come to you pre-positioned to buy. I think the other thing that he said that's really important is when he goes to those events, he's not just there at his booth, trying to get people to schedule strategy session. He's making relationships. He's connecting with the other exhibitors, and that can create joint venture opportunities and more thought leadership that you can tap into.
Yeah, I hate being in the booth. So personally, I like to see the other speakers, and I'm out, so my team's in the booth. Personally, I'm not a booth guy, and I like Jim taught us. I schedule a lot of podcasts and interviews while I'm at the event and while we're together with you.
So you'll do that right at the event. Yep. Hey, hey, so and so, come over.
Do it at breakfast, do it at lunch, whatever. Yeah.
And you just do that on your phone, or is there any technology you use for that?
Actually, I have a similar thing. These audio clips.
Okay.
And it connects to your phone or your computer, and so I'll just set the computer up on the desk and do the interview.
That's a great takeaway, guys. Yeah. If you're not doing that, use that time where you're live, and your prospects are live, or those potential joint ventures are live, and get together and create some content. And those relationships form in those conversations. That wouldn't have happened if you were just coming by and say, hey, you want me to refer you and we can refer each other? You got to find ways to create those relationships.
Yeah, and you have to be fairly proactive. Good people do come to you, but and then the best thing, Josh said it, and I repeated it, stage time is money time. You really want to get on stage at those events. And then, ideally I try and get on day one. It's a little thing, but if you're on the third day in the afternoon, everyone's already flying home.
Checked out.
If you can get on day one and you can do a killer presentation, people are going to come to your booth and pull you over the 3 days or whatever the conference is. And that's really been great for us.
I know you've published a couple of books. Talk to us about how those books have played into your marketing strategy and how you use that potentially to position yourself and or get speaking opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the book makes you the expert. I wrote the first book, The 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing, 20 years ago now. It makes me crazy to think that. And, a lot of times I'm introduced in those referral emails, like, oh, you got to talk to Jay. He's the guy who wrote the book. And it just gives you that authority. And I've done a couple other books, and my new book on the law niche specific is almost done and coming out. And, we'll use it at the conferences, and we'll use it for prospects. I'm going to tie in a charity angle, and if like a donation to the Legal Aid Society if people buy the book. And so it'll have multiple legs. So someone once told me it's like the $5 business card, but it really makes you an expert.
Right. So like the $5 business card idea there is if you have a business card, they're going to throw that away immediately. Yeah. If you hand them a book, that's going to be tangible. Like they're going to either put it in their briefcase, it'll wind up on their desk. They're not going to throw that away.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's worked great for me for 20 years, and I highly recommend it.
So let's talk a little bit about speaking opportunities, because I think you do really good on this. Any tips for that agency owner that's trying to figure out, hey, I'd love to speak, but I have no idea like why they would want me to come or how to get those types of opportunities?
Well, to start out, you need a presentation, and you can start out with something relatively small. I do the 10 golden rules. By the way, don't do 10. That's a lot of bullets. Because I've done the 10 golden rules of podcasting and social media and artificial intelligence, but it's a lot easier to do 3 or 5. I highly recommend that. But come up with a short presentation and get out there. You can do it at your local chamber of commerce, your Rotary clubs. I remember once I was speaking at a Rotary club and 7 people showed up. And so I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I crafted this whole presentation and I customized it for the group and I rehearsed it, and I was up late at night and there's only 7 people here. Well, one of the guys comes up to me at the end and says, hey, I realize we're a small group today, but I have a large company and I'd like you to come speak at our annual meeting. And we became friends and clients. And so, and then what happens a lot of times, those small groups bubble up to bigger groups. So at the end of every presentation, I say, thank you guys so much. And the reason I do this is I'd love to help you with your marketing, but other things, I really appreciate if you can refer me, if you're in the legal, if your bar association's looking for speakers, if there's any groups you're a member of that you think this content would be good, I'd love the referral. And I just put it in their head and I get 1 or 2 referrals after every speaking. So a lot of times you'll go from like the Rotary Club to the regional Rotary. If you're good, you go to the regional Rotary, and I spoke at Women in Communications, a little local club, and then the regional group, and then the Florida group, and then the national Women in Communications event. So
I think that's a great, very practical tip. So, recognize that you don't just wind up on the big national conference overnight, right? You're going to wind up speaking on webinars, maybe for a handful of people, speaking at some local small groups, and try and get video recordings of that so you have some social proof. That way it kind of steps up. Very similar for me at Plumbing HVAC SEO. When I started speaking, I wanted to speak at the national conference, and I wound up speaking at the Miami Plumbing Contractor Association, which had
worked your way up.
20 people in it, right? Literally 20 people. And one of them happened to be the president that happened to be one of our first clients. Awesome. And we kind of moved up from there. And I did get some bigger stages over time. But, those little meetings can be just as profitable as when you speak in front of a massive group.
There's always one in the room who can move your business forward.
Yeah. And if not, at least you're getting some at-bats and you're getting some skills and you're getting some pictures. So great practical tips there. I want to shift gears a little bit. Well, actually, before we do, I want to talk about webinars. You've done this very consistently. You've done this very well. What's one webinar topic that's worked really well for you in the last couple of years? And any takeaways on how to promote the webinar to get the most juice out of them?
Well, there's a little balancing act, because when I do a webinar on like how to rank in Google Maps for law firms, there's probably only going to be like 50 people, and we do it. We promote it through our email and our social media. We also promote it on LinkedIn. We create a LinkedIn event and invite people to the event. So Smart. Like if I get 50 register from social and from my email, I'll get another 50 on LinkedIn. But I also find there's a value in doing the sexier topics, the newer topics. So when local service ads became available for lawyers, I jumped on it right away. In a month in, I did local service, and people didn't really understand it. But I did it again about 4 months later, and we got maybe 100 registrants on the regular and 100 on LinkedIn. And then I did TikTok for lawyers. Hot topic, 300 registrants, set my new record. And then I did AI for lawyers, 400 registrants. Wow. But, I would balance the two, because, the AI for lawyers is thought leadership, got a ton of views, maybe 15,000 views on our YouTube channel. But, Google Maps for lawyers, local service ads for lawyers, gets lawyers who are looking to hire us. Right. So it's a bit of a balancing act.
I think that's a great point. So play with the topics, right? As you get more confident with this, touch the basics, But if there's something new and exciting, think about the newsjacking concept. If there's something new coming out and you can be the one running a webinar on that, you're going to get the eyeballs. And the same thing for us when LSA first came out, that was a slam dunk for us. And I think you do want to find the balance, because if you do one that's too abstract, yeah, you'll get eyeballs, but it doesn't lead to appointments, which lead to sales. Like where if you do the 2024 digital marketing, growth planning session, that really ties in nicely to a sale versus just some cool topic.
And so we do the annual plan, like if you follow Josh's model. And I got to be honest, and I thank you so much, because I used to watch Josh's webinar and I used to take notes, and then I'd create my slides and change the plumbing reference to lawyer reference. The good news, you only have to slog through that for 12 months, because you do one a month, and then the next year you just rinse and repeat. You just update the data and update the slides. And then part of it is I get a little bored, so I do the work and the research on the AI or TikTok, and then bring that to market. And like Jim taught us, bring in experts. So like every year I do a technology for law firms panel, and I'll bring in 5 or 6 companies, work with them in advance, and get their sort of soft promise that they'll promote it on their socials and send out an email. We get them the creative in advance, and then it brings a whole new audience, because if I'm working with one of the biggest, legal case management companies, and CallRail, the call tracking company, and we've had Intaker, the AI chatbot, and those folks will promote it to their audience because they're on a big, lawyer marketing podcast with, a bunch of YouTube views, and we convince them how valuable it is for them. They promote it for us and brings in a new audience.
Super smart. I think it's a little bit more of an advanced strategy. So if you're just getting started with webinars, start putting out your own content. As you start to have a following and some authority, massive multiplier would be to find the people that already have relationships, the consultants, the softwares, and do joint webinars with them. Any like tactics on how you would invite somebody, tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, I think we could do a joint webinar, and how to, also, like you said, get them to actually promote it so you get that multiple in terms of the eyeballs and the authority positioning?
To be honest, you just got to ask. As a matter of fact, we're launching EOS in our company, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which Josh has been using, and we're using Gerardo. And so I asked Gerardo, who Josh is the EOS certified implementer. And I asked him if he'd be on the webinar. We picked a date. And then there's a very famous attorney who was one of Gino Wickman, the author of the Traction and the creator of this operating system. One of his first clients was Mike Morse, very famous personal injury lawyer in Detroit. And he wrote a book called Fireproof about EOS and about his operating system and how to fireproof your business, your law firm. So I just called up and I said, I'd like to invite Mike to be on my webinar. Who's his assistant? Spoke to his assistant, explained that, what we're doing. She said, just send me an email, I'll get it to Mike. And within an hour, I had Mike Morse, who's a relatively famous name, booked on my webinar, and it'll be a good networking contact as well.
That's huge. So if you don't ask, you don't get, right? And try and find those celebrities in your niche. This is an example of your ideal target client that everyone would look to them and be like, wow, that's a big name.
Everybody knows this guy now, so
love it.
It'll be awesome.
That's huge. That's a huge tip. The other thing I wanted to go deeper on was the LinkedIn event idea. Talk to us a little bit about how you do that, and is it because you've got a big following and that's why it works, or just kind of give us the clip.
Yeah, we've built it. We've got a couple guys who are very good with LinkedIn, and they've built relationships for me, and I worked at it for many years myself. Probably connected to about 4,000 or 5,000 attorneys now. So we create a LinkedIn event, same day, same time, same topic, same graphics that we use for our emails and our socials. And then we invite people to the event. So my event this week, we had, I think, 80 lawyers for the Triple Your Success webinar. And then there's a software called Restream. When we go live on Zoom, Zoom connects to Restream and pushes it to a live LinkedIn event.
So you're just showing up on Zoom. There's people interacting with you there, and then Restream, like actually this is being done through Restream, hits LinkedIn, and so the people are actually watching and engaging directly on the LinkedIn software or platform.
Yeah, exactly. I log into Zoom, before the meeting, log into Restream. It says connect the platform. My team's figured out how to set it up.
Right.
But they tell me like click this, and then it says you're live on LinkedIn, and then we go.
Love it. And is it on the Jay Berkowitz page or on the 10 Golden Rules?
On the 10 Golden Rules page.
Okay, so it's your business page that's running this event.
Yeah, I've made the mistake. I actually have to not be logged in as me, and I have to log in on a different browser to the company page.
Very cool. And I think, recognizing where your audience hangs out is important. Yeah. Like your clients may or may not be on LinkedIn, but attorneys definitely are, right? This is probably the place where they hang out most.
Yeah, obviously they're personally on Facebook and Insta and TikTok, but I'd love to do Facebook and everything else, but sometimes you just gotta hit a single and keep going. So we haven't figured out how to do everything yet.
Awesome. So lots of great insights here, guys, on how to position yourself, how to leverage webinars, how to find speaking opportunities to land clients. And I think Jay's a great example of kind of leveling up these strategies and figuring out how to pull in joint venture opportunities and leverage other platforms. If we could shift gears a little bit now to delivery. So you get the clients, there's a lot of moving parts. Talk to us a little bit about how you've built the team to deliver and to deliver at such a high level.
And so many things I've learned from seven-figure agencies. So thanks again to the community. One of the things that we've used is a software called ClickUp. And one of the things that's so powerful about seven-figure agencies, like you just go on the Facebook group and you ask like, hey, we're looking at Asana and ClickUp, and I forget, we had 2 or 3 other options, and we wanted a better project management system. And like 6 out of 7 people are like, ClickUp. ClickUp's the way to go, 1,000%. And then I think you had some guys, Zen Pilot or something. And they did a session, an educational session for us. And then they had 45 templates that we purchased for ClickUp for agencies. And so now we have what we call SOPs, standard operating procedures, that are in this software. So if we're doing something like setting up a new Google Maps location, a lot of people are adding a second and third location. There's 17 or 24 steps in ClickUp, and we can assign it to one of 2 or 3 people on the team, but it's going to get done right because we're constantly honing our best practices. So in terms of delivering the product, we have systems. It's in a software. It's the task is assigned to someone. We can check it against the checklist, and we can coach people if they do it wrong, because we have essentially a digital manual for how to do everything. And we've frankly been doing this for 20 years. I was lucky enough, someone gave me the book E-Myth about how to systematize your business. And so we've been E-Mything our business from day one. We used to have binders on how to do things.
With all the SOPs.
Yeah. We just took those and made them digital. So the product is pretty systematized now, and it's really about figuring out the best way to do it, and it always changes. So you've got to be constantly iterating, and we deliver a very consistent product and get very consistent results.
Love it. So good, guys. Have a project management system. Really innovate and set up not just the checklists, but also the SOPs or playbooks, so that you can bring new people into the process as you grow. What does the operational team look like? Onshore, offshore, anything you can talk about how you've kind of structured the team?
I mean, all the management's here in North America, and we pretty much have evolved like 3 department managers now. Awesome. So I'm trying to get out of the day-to-day in all the departments. But we have a director of search and strategy, we call it, and so they're the SEO, pay-per-click, local service ad, and social media team reports to them. We've got an account management team, or we call them customer success managers, report to a director now, and we have a new marketing and sales position that's working with me on all the stuff we do for ourselves.
Outstanding. And it sounds like E-Myth, it's kind of got your wheels in turn, and now you're also looking to implement even deeper EOS, or you've implemented EOS to build that leadership team and to kind of get them to level up and take more ownership in the operational side of things.
Yeah, what I love about EOS, and I read the book Traction 6-7 years ago, and we weren't quite ready, and it's really the team's ready now for it. But we've been using component parts. So we've been using, the level 10 meeting agendas. We've been using scorecard. We've been doing rocks for 7 or 8 years. Like, we do a quarterly brainstorming and develop our top 5 priorities for the company. And then everybody individually has their top 5 priorities for the quarter. So we've been using the component parts for many years, but we're going to do it, all in. And we had a book club, and every week we read a chapter of the book, What the Heck is EOS? And it's my fourth EOS book. But the one thing I really took from it and working through it with the team is it creates a very standard terminology and system for the company. And everybody is now using these same words and phrases and solutions and business systems. So I'm very much looking forward to the full-scale implementation.
Love it. So book club, that's a cool idea to kind of create culture, get everybody on the same page. How do you break that down with the team? Are you guys literally sitting and reading it, or is it like, hey, you need to read chapter 3 as a group, and then we're going to talk about it?
It's all of that except for the part about you need to read chapter 3. So,
okay.
I started out with a lot of enthusiasm, and just said we meet as a team every week. So I said, I'd send everybody the book through Amazon, and then I said, you got to read chapter 1, and next week we're going to talk about it. So, of course, there's always the A students who read the chapter, took notes, dissected it, gave us great feedback. And it was very clear who had done their reading for the week and who hadn't. And at first I was thinking of the stick, like, if you didn't do your reading, what's going to happen? And then I realized, the carrot's much better than the stick, if you use that old metaphor or whatever. And so I said, look, Amy and Alyssa, you guys did great this week. Thank you so much for doing your homework. I want you to pick a $25 Amazon gift certificate, and I'm going to send it to you. And the next week, hey, what Amazon gift certificate did you get? Oh, I picked the wine one. I picked So, everybody started getting a little bit more enthusiastic for a chance to win something.
I love that. I think that's a smart takeaway. How often do you rotate books?
Well, we've done it, I've done it through the years, but we revamped a book called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy.
Yeah.
Great book. Highly recommend it. About setting your top 3 priorities in the morning and getting those done first thing. So we did that earlier this year. And there's, 8-10 chapters in a book. You do one a week, and you're, before you know it, you're done.
Love it. Great idea to create culture, to make sure everybody's thinking and learning and that similar language, right? If the group is speaking the same language, it makes it so much easier to mesh and to communicate. Let's talk about retention. So, retaining attorneys is notoriously hard. What are some like great nuggets you can share with the group on how you're able to retain your clients and keep them on board long term?
Well, results is obviously, the obvious answer, but, assuming you're doing a pretty good job there, you also have to communicate your results to the clients. So we're pretty diligent with a monthly meeting. For bigger clients, we meet twice a month. We call the first meeting the performance meeting, the second meeting the check-in meeting. But we run the agency like a business. We've got an agenda, we've got a Google Slides deck, we've got all the reporting, screenshots of everything in the deck, and we go through it in a business-like manner. We actually start every meeting with the joke of the week. And it's become sort of a
breaks the ice a little bit
joke. Well, our mission is to be fun, easy to use, and deliver amazing return on investment. So the fun part is, that reminds us to be fun, but also, like, there was a time in our business where we were presenting the same data to the same companies for the first week or the second week of the month. And it got very drudgerous. For us, like, it was the same chart. And so I had to remind us and remind myself, we've got to be fun, especially with lawyers. There's not many instances where it's a pleasant experience, that these guys are, the injury lawyers or divorce lawyers or bankruptcy lawyers. Maybe if you're getting someone their first house or someone's buying a business, but most of the rest of their week is pretty crappy. So we want to be fun, and we want to be high energy, and we want to come with a bad joke that we can all laugh at, or a good joke that works.
Love it.
And so we run the business like a business. And what happens is, the first couple times maybe they don't show up or they're late, and then we call them and we get them on the phone and on the Zoom meeting. and they realize, there's really good value here. They realize we also track, the lead sources and the number of signed cases. So we work with the intake team to actually tie it back to the lead source, and we tie back the ROI measurement. We hold ourselves accountable to that performance. So, it doesn't take more than a month or two for the partner and the marketing person to show up regularly for the meetings. And then, retention's easier. A, you operate like a business. B, they see what you're doing. C, you're getting results. D, you're tracking results. E, you're bringing new stuff to them every month. So it generally helps with retention.
I love that. I think so. Something that you guys should all take away from that is that the meeting, while you do want to have slides and while you do want to have an agenda, can't be a regurgitation of the same thing every time. You got to make sure that you're also talking about what you're working on, where you're tracking against the goals. That way they have a reason as the business owner or the marketing director to participate, right? If your meeting is boring, it doesn't actually add value, and it just is basically reading a report, they will disengage, right? And you'll have like a very low show up for the meeting, which will lead to a higher churn rate long-term.
Yeah, we throw a little sizzle in every month. So, like if I'm doing research on artificial intelligence, or if I interview Dr. Kane Elliott, who's the AI futurist at Filevine, and I've got some slides that I'm using for a webinar or using on stage, we'll take 6 or 8 of them and use them for our client meeting each month. So they'll learn about AI. There's always changes to the local service ads, so each month we always have a little bit of value.
Love that idea, right? So like kind of make sure that you keep it spicy. You mentioned 2 meetings, a results meeting?
Performance meeting.
Okay,
yeah.
and then
a check-in.
Okay.
Yeah, we call it a check-in, just to differentiate the 2 meetings. I definitely want the partner, like most law firms are like Nelson and Berkowitz, or Berkowitz and Nelson, and one of them is a trial attorney and one of them runs a business. And the guy who runs the business, runs the marketing, runs the HR, I want him in that meeting. He doesn't necessarily need to be in the check-in meeting. So there's always like an office manager or a marketing director. And so the check-in, I might not be there, and the partner might not be there. And that's more of, hey, we're getting some content approved, some social media approved, maybe fixing something or, following up on something.
Amazing. So good. Is this a group like where you're doing this with all your clients, or is this one-on-one meetings?
Oh, no, yeah. These are his results, his data or her data. This is one-on-one.
Got it. So it's like one-on-one meetings with each of these guys twice a month. The first one is more strategic. Hey, here high level, here's where things are headed. The next one is more technical. Hey, here's what we need from you. Here's the approvals. And it might hit 2 different people within the organization.
And for smaller clients, we still have the check-in, but it's virtual. So we'll send them an email. Hey, just want to let you know your pay-per-click's on track. You got this many leads. We were still waiting for this approval. That's typical.
Amazing. So great stuff. We talked about how you land clients, how you deliver world-class results, kind of what the team looks like and how you're scaling the organization. Any other tips you'd want to share with the digital marketing agency owner on kind of how they can do better, either on delivery or on how they're growing?
The tip I want to share is how much value we've gotten from 7-Figure Agency and how much value is available. There's great training online. There's the other thing that I want to say is I came to the first couple of conferences and I thought there was good stuff and it was interesting. And, I was kind of like a fair weather, I'd show up a little, I'd drive down from Boca. It's about an hour and a half in traffic, and I maybe leave a little early to miss traffic, and then came back again. It's like, hey, this stuff's pretty good. And then the next one, I sort of logged in and, stayed in the hotel and attended the whole day. And the one thing I realized that I go to a lot of, or at the time I was speaking a lot of the internet marketing conferences. I was, speaking and attending, affiliate summit and search engine strategies. And I realized 7-Figure Agency is not an internet marketing conference. Sure, Josh will have some great sessions on SEO or PPC, but it teaches us how to run the agency like a business. And most of the topics are how to sell, how to manage your agency, how to staff your agency, how to build leads, how to close sales. So it's really, it's a different conference and it's a different set of content. So you gotta be at the event. And then other things I didn't realize, like once you join, there's a phenomenal mastermind effect. And that is, it takes place online, it takes place in person. Like we have Zoom meetings. So, like basically everything, most of the things have taken us from, X to Y to Z. I've learned, in one way, shape, or form. Like sometimes it's like I ask a question in the Facebook group about ClickUp. I said, do I go Asana? Do I go ClickUp? Or, oh, ClickUp's great. And there's the software and there's templates. And then someone's like, hey, I'll get on a call with you and show your people how to do it. Like everybody's so giving. And then the mastermind, we do the Zoom meetings and there's people at your level who are in there and everybody gets a hot seat. So you bring one problem or one thing you're struggling with to the group. And there's 6 or 8 people who are at your same level where your business is at. And you get amazing feedback. I was with Matt Plapp and Tony Ricketts yesterday. Matt, has a $5 or $6 million business. Tony has a $3 or $4 million agency and they're niche specific. And obviously they're not competing with you and they're willing to give you so many great ideas. So.
Love it. So the power of kind of getting around other people at your level or beyond and just having that idea exchange can accelerate your growth.
Yeah. And I like to share that because, if somebody's watching this and they haven't, been to one of the events, been to one of the intensives or, can't see the private Facebook group, I just want you to know there's a hell of a lot of value. And, your question is what's taking you to the next level? And frankly, I've gotten it from you and Josh is great, but, there's, 20 titans, there's 20 multi 7-figure agencies and everybody has so much value and is so giving.
Love it. Thanks for saying that. Appreciate it. So kind of as we wrap up, kind of one last question. If you were talking to that agency that's at 40,000, 50,000, they're trying to get to the next level, what would be like one last piece of wisdom you would leave them with?
I worked in the seminar and event business and I saw Tony Robbins about 8 times in about 3 years. And he says success leaves clues. And you don't have to figure all this stuff out yourself. And, for many years, I was a member of a lot of masterminds. I was at my CEO mastermind today, and I'm the only agency in the room. But the beauty of this is you're with other experts. You're with other people who are figuring out exactly the same problem, but they're not competing directly with you because they're in another niche. So success leaves clues. Like that's the fastest way to, you don't have to struggle through it for 2 years of picking the wrong software and doing the wrong implementation, not knowing how, like we had ClickUp, we had these 45 templates. We were up and running in 2-3 months and it's been great. We've been on it for 3 years now. So just faster route to success.
Love it. Well, Jay, congratulations on your success. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for being such an amazing active participant at 7-Figure Agency. We're truly honored to have you as part of the community. Guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you've got follow-up questions, post them in the comments. Jay, if someone wanted to connect with you or learn more about you, what would be the best way?
10goldenrules.com or Jay Berkowitz on all the social media. There's a couple guys, Dr. Jay Berkowitz and Professor Jay Berkowitz, probably a lot more important to society, but I always beat them to the new social media. So I'm Jay Berkowitz on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for sharing. Thanks for watching, everybody. And we'll catch you on a future episode of the 7-Figure Agency